The vestibule was eventually secured.
Food preservation was critical.
I needed fat. Fat was the engine of survival.
The warmth spread outward. A temporary truce.
No immediate signs of scurvy, thanks to the recent influx of raw fish eyes and internal organs.
Morale. Stable. Despair is hypothermia of the soul.
If it broke while I was hauling ice or setting snares, I'd be stuck. It wasn't just the absence of sound. It was the presence of an immense, suffocating quietude.
The magnetic north is shifting too fast. We are running parallel to the coastline, but the sea ice...
My stored white gas was nearly gone.
The wind was a livil thing, a predator beast. Necessity demanded I exhaust every possibility. The air hit the lungs like shards of glass.
I burned through half my daily water ration, just managing the effort. The colored rocks were there, just as I remembered. It was the purest form of warmth I could imagine.
A near impossible journey. But now, for the first time, I had a destination.
If the structure remained, it would have preserved stores. It would have a radio.
They are gone. I am here. Survival was the only equation that mattered. The journey was daunting. It required crossing the vast, unexplored maw of the Lancaster Sound ice shelf. If any search plane ever flew this high, they wouldn't spot my meager, snow-covered shelter.
This required the most dangerous material in my possession, the remaining fragments of the emergency flares.
It rose maybe 1,000 feet before the wind caught it.
There. I am here.
The beacon burned for 20 minutes.
The taste of victory metallic on my tongue.
Elias Thorne, the geologist, was dead. Elias Thorne, the traveler, was being born.
The greatest burden was water.
It wasn't fast, but it was passive energy transfer, a lifesaver over the long haul. I had to stop thinking about rescue and start thinking about permanence.
The Arctic demonstrated its displeasure.
The drumming of the wind became the only reality.
If the ridge broke through and enveloped the needle, it would be crushed instantly. For nearly an hour, I lay there, suspended between life and the crushing weight.
The sledge, however, was gone. Buried, crushed, or dragged away.
The sledge was now robust, heavy, and ready.
There were no farewells, no triumphant shouts.
The silence was different now. It was the neutral silence of motion. The real genius, I told myself, was the windward wall. I learned to read the ice. The landscape opened up into a chaos of frozen waves and pressure ridges. This was the greatest risk, consuming too much energy for a small return. I didn't try to spear it. I lunged. The blubber I rendered, a beacon of glorious, life-sustaining heat and smoke. The energy of the blubber already powering my muscles. I began seeing things. Not a natural formation.
My first thought was fear. My second thought was hope, so profound it felt like pain.
A ghost. Not one of my crew, but a victim of a far earlier winter. The smell was a pungent mix. A terrible waste, but necessary for psychological warmth. The dead man held no threat. He was history. I needed the structure. The warmth immediate, but laced with menace. This was a gold mine. I did not linger. The presence of death, this permanent, was corrosive. The ghost had given me life.
Navigation became less about angles and more about intuition.
I relied on the logbook's description of landmarks. It wasn't a pressure ridge. It was too angular, too regular. It was there, not metal, but concrete and steel. Outpost Gamma. I had arrived. My sleeping bag. It was my coffin and my cradle. A carefully controlled mixture. I waited for the dust to settle. A tropical paradise compared to the outside. Enough food to last a year. I had survived the wilderness. Now, I would survive the wait. I was no longer an anomaly. I was a fixture. The needle was too small. I needed a dedicated food prep area. It was a slow, brutal process.